You are assigned to write a paragraph about stem cells, what they are, and why they are an important development in medical treatments. You need to have your assignment out, and we'll go through the information piece by piece to help you put together this paragraph. So let's start reading the article. It says stem cells are a special category of cells that can give rise to other tissues of the body. Okay, so that's literally what they are. But let's think about what that really means. You know that all of your cells have the exact same DNA, so they are all identical. But when they're in different organs, they have different functions. So cells in a liver have to do different things than cells in your mouth or cells in your stomach. So if you have specialized cells that can be turned into any cell that's in the body, that's going to be any organ, that's a pretty special cell. So this is the exciting thing about stem cells. They can be a liver cell, or they can be a stomach cell, or a spinal cord cell. They can literally become anything. It goes on to tell us that there are two major types of stem cells, embryonic stem cells and adult stem cells. Embryonic stem cells come from embryos that are at the earliest stage of development. These cells are pluripotent, meaning they can develop into any type of cell in the body. This is what makes them so useful and so exciting. They can be turned into anything. A stem cell has no identity other than it's yours. It has no function yet. It can be given any function, any identity. So now let's look at the next paragraph. We've got the idea of what a stem cell is. Let's see how it's formed. When an embryo is forming, all of the cells are the same. So this is the same thing we've read already. All of the cells are the same. Every cell in the developing egg can become any body cell. This is the main point about a stem cell. It can become anything. So if you think about any kind of injury where you've got major damage to an organ, stem cells can be used to develop some of those cells again. Let's go further. Differentiation. About 10 days after fertilization, the cells that have arisen from the fertilized egg are called a blastocyst. After this time, the cells are differentiated. This means they are now developing differently and will give rise to the different body tissues and organs. Before 10 days after fertilization, they can become anything. After this time, they're set. They say, I'm a liver cell, I'm a hand cell, I'm a nose cell, I'm a stomach cell. Within the first 10 days after fertilization, these cells can become anything. This is when we use them. This is when they become useful as stem cells. So there are some criteria that the article lays out for a cell to be a useful stem cell. First, it has to be capable of long-term self-renewal. A single cell that can be a liver cell is useless. We need millions of cells that are going to be a new liver. So it needs to continue to reproduce. Self-renewal. It needs to continue to reproduce, making more and more and more of itself until you have an actual organ. Secondly, it must be somewhat unspecialized. Well, that makes sense. It needs to be able to be put somewhere where there are other cells that you want it to develop into. So if you have a damaged liver that has good cells, you can put these stem cells there. They will develop into liver cells. They need to be unspecialized because you need to be able to put them in whatever organ they need to be developing into. And finally, stem cells must be able to give rise to specialized cells. So if it just keeps developing as an undifferentiated cell over and over and over again, that's not going to be helpful. It needs to eventually be able to identify with the cells around it. I'm surrounded by stomach cells. I must become a stomach cell. It needs to be able to develop into that specific organ. And the last section tells us where they come from. So The embryonic stem cells are extracted from the inner cell mass of this blastocyst. And cyst is simply Greek for cell. So what we have is a big hollow ball filled with cells, and that's a blastocyst. And the inside of that will develop the inner organs, the outside will develop sort of the skin and skeleton and outer parts of the body. Adult stem cells come from tissues in adult organisms. They are more tissue specific, but nonetheless they are still very useful, and a lot of research is going into using adult stem cells. So now let's go back and look at what we've learned from this article and from going over it. We've learned about stem cells, what they are, that they're cells that can become any kind of cell for any kind of organ, right? They can become any So the use is that we can repair damaged organs. So to flesh this out, you want to insert the other things we talked about, them becoming any kind of cell, what the criteria are and why that's important, and some examples of damage that might be repaired with stem cells and why it would be repaired. Because they can continue to reproduce and become the cells around them. Good luck, and I'm here to help you.